Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast, where there is only one screen.
There is only one screen today, and we're not doing the nightly news. We are actually both in Orlando.
That's right.
And there happens to be a meetup at the Iaapa World Headquarters today, and that's where we're broadcasting from today, or recording anyway. We are here at their offices in Orlando. Beautiful facility.
Yeah.
I come for the facility. I stay for the coffee. But they got a good coffee machine. I've never seen a coffee machine like this before. They of course proudly serve Starbucks beverages, not an exact Starbucks, but you push a button, they can make about a dozen different drinks, just a flick of a button, and that's more power than I have in my fingertips at any given time.
Yeah, right.
To have 12 different coffee flavors I can go with. So
I might need that for my partner. All that coffee.
Yeah.
That could be good. Could be bad.
It could be really bad.
Yeah, could be. So
it could be bad.
We've got a very cool episode for you today. A little bit of a different episode. It's just going to be me and David. No interview today, and a little bit of a modified pick six at the end. But we've started off with a question that we wanted to pose to each other. Because I think we're kind of opposed on this one.
We are. We've hit around the corners on it, and it hasn't got real spirited, but let's just see what we can get to today.
Let's do it. So, when you're making an attraction, storytelling is a big part of that for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Thrills is a big part of that for a lot of people.
Okay.
And for some people, both are, they can, like Velocicoaster does both well.
Right.
But
because it also tells a story.
It does.
It does. You can't get to the high parts of the roller coaster, the inversions, until you go through the cage where the dinosaurs are trying to chase you.
That's right.
So there's a lot of storytelling there. There's something they can do both.
Sure. It's a little rare. It's way rare. Most are geared one way or the other. Which one is more important to you? Which side of this are you on?
Oh, I think that's well documented. I like the storytelling.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you just want to have a tall, fast roller coaster, and there's a lot of seasonal parks do that because it takes a lot more time investment and monetary investment to tell that story for a park that's only open 4 months each year.
Sure.
So that's understandable, but that's also a reason why I believe that you can only get so tall and so fast before it's going to be replaced by the one next door.
Okay.
And so I think if you can tell a story and you tell it well, it's something that it is a memory worth repeating. I believe that's Hershen's.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm with you.
Okay.
There's a lot of great things.
I hear about coming.
But I'm definitely on the thrill side of this. I mean, I started as a coaster enthusiast, of course, and in those days, to me, a story ride was not even worth riding.
Okay.
And I do think there is a real part of this that you got to consider. If I read a book, and I've experienced that story now, I have read that book. I can talk to you about that book, about the plot of that book, about its characters. And if what a ride is doing is telling me a story primarily, then how worth repeating is it? You've experienced the story once, and now you're going back to, enjoy the immersion again, but also you're going back. I can ride Gringotts 100 times. I know that once those guys throw me off the cliff, I'm going to have the, Wingardium Leviosa save me from Ron.
Okay, but does that keep you from riding?
No, well, that's fair.
Let's go back to where do you work at?
Okay, so I'm a cast member at Walt Disney World, and there is, mostly storytelling rides there.
Yes.
And they do an unbelievably good job.
Okay, so storytelling.
Yes.
Peter Pan ride.
Yes.
It's been there since they opened. If I'm not mistaken, it's been there since they've opened.
Right.
It's 1971.
1971. Yeah.
Okay. And then literally across the way there is Small World.
Yeah.
There's nothing spectacular about either of those.
Right.
It's old technology for sure, but anytime I've ever been to Magic Kingdom, it's a storytelling. It's not a roller coaster. It's not a thrill coaster. It has well over an hour wait for both of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bunk your theory there, but at the same time, yes, you do. You know that you're going to have that. It's a Small World play in your head for the next several weeks,
right? Of course.
But at the same time, it's that storytelling, that memory maker that you'll go to time and time again.
That is true. I think what Disney has earned the title of. I think what Disney is like, the best in the world at is taking what would otherwise be a very mediocre attraction and turning it into a fan favorite that is like loved in unprecedented amounts.
Why is that, Clete? It tells a story.
It is because it tells a story, but I'm just saying, can you imagine if instead of telling that story through a little boat ride where you go through this carousel, you were telling that story on a Mock Ride's launch coaster? That would be awesome.
It would be. But also, you would take a look at the seasonal park. Both of us grew up in the Kings Island area.
Sure.
I don't remember if it was quite like this when you were older, but the Tomb Raider ride.
Yeah.
The line getting into the ride vehicle was literally part of the experience.
Of course, yeah.
And it's told a story.
Yeah.
In the entire, if you were in line for an hour and a half,
yes.
you were immersed in that the entire time. So it didn't. Well, I don't want to say it didn't seem like you were in line for an hour.
But then, yeah,
but it told a story, and it attracted crowds. And thinking that if there's only so tall and so fast they can make them before it just becomes a mundane ride because it's replaced by the next one taller and faster.
Okay. So let's think about then I'm sure one of your favorite rides, the Beast.
Okay.
Okay, the Beast is not it. There's a story technically, right? But no, there's really no story.
Okay. Speaking of storytelling,
okay.
Let me ask, because the Beast.
Okay.
It says that I think one of the placards in the station is beware because the beast lurks out about.
Yes.
So everybody thinks of the roller coaster itself as the beast.
Right.
But you're just on a ride vehicle going through the woods, and the beast
is somewhere out there.
The beast has nothing to do with the ride,
in theory,
so to speak.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
It actually is. You're the ride vehicle, and you're waiting to get ambushed.
Yeah. Right.
So it does tell a bit of a story.
And I think that is in some ways perfect. If you think about. So my favorite attraction, this is a little bit antithetical to what I'm saying, but my favorite attraction at Walt Disney World is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is 100% storytelling.
Nothing can stop us now.
That's right. Nothing can stop us. So aside from my love for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is very real, I do love that ride. I think even Mickey and Minnie's, the great Mickey and Minnie's, it tells a story,
right?
And there are no thrills. I mean, I don't think you can call those little whips and thrills. So. All I'm suggesting is if you balance it out a little bit, take away a little bit of the storytelling. Maybe it's so cool to enter into cartoon world, but maybe the pre-cartoon world, once you're in there, it's a little less themed. Oh well, and now we're on a bit of a more thrilling attraction. That would be great. And the example I'm going to place forward is all of the new Cedar Fair attractions, like 2017 through the merger, pretty much.
Yeah.
We have like Copperhead Strike, which is a Mock Ride's launch coaster, but you also get this well-themed ride that is about how you are looking for Grandma's moonshine recipe, and then you have a snake come and bite you, or Yukon Striker, which has good theming in its queue too, and tells us something of a story. Even Mystic Timbers. Yeah. Mystic Timbers, you have the Miami River. I mean, it's a really stupid. That's all three of these rides have in common. The story doesn't make that much sense.
It doesn't when you're talking about 1980s lumberyard in the middle of a river town,
right?
Turn of the century.
But
still, it's good. It's if you take that by itself and remove it from the area that it's in, it's so good. It's a good themed area,
right? I think the thing that is true is with the level of theming that like Cedar Fair does, that Busch Gardens.
And they've done it best.
Yeah, they sure have. I mean, if you think about Diamondback, it's a snake. That's the theme. That's it. That's all we got. Or Fury 325, it's a hornet. That's it. But if you take the level of theming that like Mystic Timbers has, and you remove the roller coaster, it's not a great attraction. If you take the level of theming that Mickey and Minnie's has, and you remove the Track Coast Dark Ride, it's a good attraction.
Sure. Okay, that's super fun.
And I think sometimes parks, it's good to have both of those things, but your roller coasters are roller coasters. They don't need to have that much storytelling that if you removed the roller coaster, they would be good.
I think that the newer ones, yes, because they had all these linear launching mechanisms that you can stop for a scene and then take off if something starting to chase you. But the old chain lift and gravity takes you through. No, other than theming the station, you're not really going to get much of a theme out as you're buzzing past it.
It would be hard to.
It would be hard.
Yeah,
I would like to know how they're going to retheme the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Are they keeping the roller coaster?
Yes, they are.
Okay, how do you theme that to the Muppets?
That's a wonderful question, and I have no idea. Maybe like I don't know. One of the Muppets is driving the car. And
it has to be Animal driving it.
Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes off the rails. I'm excited though. I mean, Disney's not gonna. When it comes to theming and especially storytelling, they're not going to do a bad job. They're incapable of doing a bad job. But I do think that distinction right there is kind of what we're getting at. I think there's something different about theming and storytelling. I think what Cedar Fair does is theming, and it can tell a story, sure, but it's not storytelling in the same way that Hagrid's or Rock and Roll.
It helps to bounce off of.
Yeah, of course,
it does. When I can't think of it's just a standard mouse roller coaster indoors. A wild mouse roller coaster.
It's Toxic Waste or something. That's what it's themed to. You have the
over
by Black Widow. I know. Yeah.
So I mean, they're a seasonal park.
Yeah,
and they've done a very good job of taking a very not a mundane attraction, but by any means, but a wild mouse roller coaster, which is not your 500-foot tall roller coaster. Sure. It's not going to go upside down 50 times. Or 5 times for that matter. But it does tell a story through the course of the roller coaster.
Yes, that is true. So, what do you think about rides like Justice League Battle for Metropolis? If you've ridden any of those are the Six Flags shooting dark ride staple. They put them everywhere. Or even Boo Blasters. Boo Blasters is a little outdated at this point, of course. But do you think the storytelling on those is up to, let's call it standard?
Are all of them where you have the little apparatus to shoot?
They're all shooting dark.
They're all shooting. I don't know. I can take or leave those.
Okay.
For instance, because you did mention Boom Blasters, the attraction that it replaced was far superior.
Okay, right.
The Phantom Theater. Did you ever ride that?
Yeah, I never did. No.
Okay. It was far superior. It was about as close as a seasonal park could get to Haunted Mansion.
Really? Okay.
I mean, it's really well done.
Yeah.
And probably things maintained over a number of years. And that's another just mundane ride that you go through on a mansion that, unless there's a 13 up on the screen where there's a walk on, it's usually over 70 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you prefer, I mean, Disney and
this isn't a Disney podcast.
Of course, but we're talking about theming. It's going to go down around a little bit. Thinking about early Disney, especially early Magic Kingdom. Right, you're
making reference to my age.
We have Peter Pan, which is IP based, but we also have It's a Small World. We have Haunted Mansion. We have Pirates, which at the time wasn't IP based. We have Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Space Mountain. Mm-hmm. All of these rides don't have an IP,
right?
And I think all of them are incredibly well themed. But I don't really think, maybe besides Pirates and a little bit Haunted Mansion, I don't think they're telling a story in the same way that we would expect from them today. Okay. Do you think there's some validity to that? Like Space Mountain, you cannot deny the theming, but what's the story being told?
Other than immerse you into that environment,
right?
I can't really say for certain. But Pirates of the Caribbean, it's just a level of detail that's in there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just it is a well thought out ride.
It really is
that they spend a lot of time in.
Yeah,
and it's maintained. There aren't random things. You don't see light bulbs out. You don't see water cannons not going off.
You don't.
I mean, everything is taken care of to a T. And even in SeaWorld, for instance, some of their roller coasters do theming too. Not really a lot of storytelling, but they theme them well.
Yeah, that's true.
The Journey to Atlantis.
Very well themed.
When I thought the ride was over, you were going back up the hill.
You were, right.
So they do a very good job of theming on that. There's a little bit of storytelling to that one, but not a ton, but they did a very good job at it.
Okay, so we're on a good place where we could segue into the next thing we have for this episode. Because Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld San Diego is by duration, not by track length, but by duration, the longest roller coaster in the world. And the major reason for that is the fact that after you drop down the hill, you have this turnaround in the water, and it takes 3 minutes. So it's a 6-minute ride, but a lot of the duration is made up as being a boat, not a roller coaster at all. So the question then is, what is a roller coaster?
Okay.
And this is, of course, if you're a coaster enthusiast, if you like to count coaster credits, it's very important for them to get that number exactly right.
What's your number, by the way?
I was counting it up last night. I've lost track over the last couple of years, which is embarrassing for me.
How many parks have you been to?
Let's see, that's what is a park is then another question. Because I rode a roller coaster in my high school's parking lot, CHGA's parking lot, for Fall Festival one year, and
you built it in your backyard, didn't you?
Oh, well, the coaster I built was in my backyard, but it was like a fair coaster. They brought it in for Fall Fest. If I rode a coaster there, is it a park? Maybe. But either way, over 25 parks. I've ridden over 350 roller coasters. But to make that count, we need some definition. Because here's kind of where we're at, generally speaking. People like to say it's a cart on a track. It is powered by solely gravity for at least some proportion of the ride.
Okay. And
it is operated by an operator. Those are the big things.
Okay.
So then, by that definition, Diamondback. It's a cart on a track.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's easy.
Gravity only, past the lift hill. It's operated by an operator. We're good. But my trouble with that definition, the trouble I've always had with that definition is, am I wrong for thinking that by that definition, Intamin drop towers are roller coasters? It's a cart on a track. The pole itself is the track.
That's like Demon Drop, like it was Cedar Point.
Yeah, Demon Drop at Cedar Point is a great example too, because you're definitely in a cart on a track. You're definitely operated by an operator, and when you drop, it's gravity only.
Wow.
I would think that's a roller coaster. But it's I think I'm on the minority on that. Even drops Kings Island.
Yeah.
You're cart on a track. You're operated by an operator. Only gravity.
So you think that's a roller coaster?
I don't think it's a roller coaster.
Okay.
But I think we need a different definition for roller coaster because right now our definition includes that. So I think we need something about the portion of the track that is powered by only gravity is separate. But I don't want to say shuttle coaster. Shuttle coasters are coasters, like Wicked Twister. Wicked Twister is definitely a roller coaster, But I don't know.
Okay, so what's your definition? Because I can't go there with rides like Demon Drop. And I don't have anything to back that up. I just don't.
You just the vibes feel it. That's fair. I think a good start. If you're just counting coasters and you're like in a bad place. You're like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to count coasters. Just go by RCDB. Everything RCDB has is pretty much correct. But I think the definition ought to be something like a cart on a track that's operated by an operator that has either a launch or a lift hill.
Okay.
I think we should put that in there because it's true of every coaster. Every coaster right now, I mean, there's cable lifts, sure, but that's a lift hill.
Okay.
You have to have a launch or a lift hill because you have to have something to prime the gravity to get your potential energy going.
Okay, and you might be able to help me on this because it seems something Snoopy now, but used to be an Avatar at Kings Island.
Okay, yes. Pipe Scream is what they call it.
A what?
Or Pipe Scream is what it's called at Cedar Point. It's called the surfing. I don't remember. It's okay. Yeah.
Roller Coaster Database, when it was first announced, listed as a roller coaster.
Yes.
It's no longer listed as a roller coaster. How is that launched? Is that electric?
Yeah, so
pulse?
It's running on like a track that it's powered. Like the power is in the ride vehicle itself.
Oh,
and because the power is in the ride vehicle, it's not a coaster.
Okay.
I think that should always be. If the power is in the ride vehicle, it's not a roller coaster.
Okay.
So, Pipe Scream, Figment, Journey to Imagination with Figment, it has roller coaster track. Like it runs on a roller coaster track. It's not traditional dark ride track, but it's powered the whole time. Seuss's high flying trolley over at Seuss Island, Dr. Seuss Island, the powered train. That's definitely not a roller coaster because it's powered within the track.
Okay. The roller coaster in the castle at Universal is considered a roller coaster. Where you're on the hydraulic lift thing that it flies you through.
Forbidden Journey.
Harry Potter's
Forbidden Journey. You're talking about in Hogwarts?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Forbidden Journey. I would not consider that a roller coaster.
But on Roller Coaster Database, I think it is.
No way. I'm dubious.
You've got roller coaster database.
Yeah, I have the app on my phone. It's not even an app. It's just a. Let's see.
Fact check me in real time.
I did have to. Gringotts is.
But the other.
But Forbidden Journey is not.
Okay.
Forbidden Journey is I mean it's a weird claw dark ride,
Right.
but I don't think you'd call it a coaster. I think we should, collectively definitions are harder than just like deciding on a case by case basis, which is why RCDB is so great because we just kind of all have shaped it to agree with what we think is and is not a roller coaster. But that's not to say there are not examples of rides that are not on RCDB that I think should be. And the one I'm going to posit here is Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls.
Okay, now you're getting into a whole nother box here.
So when you talk about water coasters, like Congo Falls, for instance,
water coasters, a whole nother box.
Lift hill, and then you go around and you drop. That is not a roller coaster because it's not powered by solely gravity. While you're falling down that hill, there's water pushing you as well. So that's powered in some sense. It's not a lot of power, but there is water pushing you.
Okay.
Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls and Tiana's Bayou Adventure both have a section after one of the lift hills where you drop and the track is dry. You're dropping into like a steel trough.
Okay.
And you're just rolling on your wheels and you go,
right
up and then you splash down. And there couldn't be water there because you wouldn't be able to get back up. The water would collect at the bottom and that would obviously get up. So I think that's a roller coaster.
Journey to Atlantis.
Journey to Atlantis, I think is
at least Orlando.
In Orlando, it's definitely a roller coaster.
Okay.
Because it has that whole section that's like track. But then part of it is not. I don't know. Do you think it should lose points for being, half? Because if you just look at the part you can see from the midway, that part is not a roller coaster.
No, it's not. It's definitely not a long flume.
But it's something like closer to a log flume than a roller coaster.
But it definitely, you're on a steel track for some portion of it.
You are fully steel track, fully on a cart on a track operated by an operator. Then I think another maybe interesting thing to talk about is alpine coasters.
What does your good friend at the Roller Coaster Database say?
They have Journey to Atlantis. I think.
Do they? Okay.
They do, yes. And they have the one in San Antonio too, which I've always thought is interesting because that one's a little different. It has like a steel track part, but it's like one turn. It's like all you get. But I don't know. I think Dudley Do-Right is especially, can maybe controversial because its drop that doesn't have water is only seasonal in its not having water.
Okay, I'm going to pull up that also because I've got a question. No, it doesn't. Never mind. I was going to say the Bayern Curve.
Oh, yeah.
It's powered.
Yeah.
You're never free to go on your own.
Yeah.
And it's not.
But the powering is not in the ride vehicle there.
Right. So your continuous track. There's no beginning, no end to the train.
Yeah. So that I would say because
Well, and they didn't consider one.
Yeah. It is definitely interesting. If any of you have a definition, please tell us. I think we need something that somehow does include everything we do think is a roller coaster, including launch coasters, including shuttle coasters, but doesn't include drop towers. And that's the problem that I keep running into with trying to find a definition. But hopefully we can resolve this with our brilliant minds on the other side of the screen here.
And not get into any mindless rants about it.
That's right.
Yes.
Speaking of rants, I think we have a couple.
We do. A couple things that you're going to have to start off on your first one, since we're talking about roller coasters anyway.
Okay, I will.
And don't get us in any kind of a back and forth with the roller coaster manufacturer, please.
Okay, all right. I mean no hatred to anyone here, but I do think someone needs to say this out loud because no one ever has, no one ever will. B&M hypercoasters, Diamondback, Mako, Nitro, Behemoth, Shambhala, they are not that good.
No, there's some people who say that Diamondback is a better experience than Orion.
And to that I'd say you are very silly, is what I would tell them.
Okay.
I think Diamondback and Orion are they're the same ride model. They're both technically B&M riders because they're both the same ride model. But the difference is that Orion has elements that are interesting, and Diamondback doesn't. Diamondback has the turnaround and the splashdown at the very end. That's part of the ride. Don't get me wrong, the drop is great. But I just think and I love airtime. I don't want to sound like I don't love airtime. I love airtime, but like the airtime provided on most B&M hypercoasters is fun, but a little bit weak. It's not, it's not the same as what you're going to experience on like, Mystic Timbers or an RMC or anything like that. It's not very aggressive. It's meant to be a graceful ride. So the airtime is also graceful. Most B&M hypercoasters that I've ridden have a good drop, and that is it.
Yeah.
I think Diamondback is actually if for me anyway, it's a top 3 B&M hyper. Diamondback and Candymonium and Mako are legitimately good. Mm-hmm. Every other one I've ever ridden, I've just thought I could never ride this again and be satisfied. Intimidator at Carowinds or Thunderstriker these days, of course. You have a drop. It does have a drop, and the drop's okay. And literally after that, I just feel like I'm sitting in a chair riding a monorail because there are no more forces on the ride. maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Nitro.
Yeah, you've thought about that analogy quite a bit.
I have 100%. Nitro, same way. Raging Bull kind of breaks the mold a little bit because it has some cool elements, but it's airtime hills. They're not airtime hills. They're just hills. You're just going up and coming back down. I think the Morgan hypers, the Mamba Worlds of Fun, they kind of have the reputation for being big and tall, but that's it. They just have a lot of airtime hills and they don't do much. I think B&M hypers should have that reputation too. They're just, people love them. They are huge crowd eaters. They're great for capacity. Yeah. I understand why parks would want to install them, but I think I've ridden great B&Ms. I've ridden Curie 325 and Orion where it's like we're not just doing airtime. We have other elements, and those are amazing rides. Thunderbird, amazing ride. Kumba, Montu down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. These are amazing rides. I just think we need to say the quiet part out loud and admit, I don't think I'm alone here. I think you guys just won't admit it. B&M hypers are kind of bad.
But it also goes back to what I said, that it's just another taller, faster. And if you're going to do you want to keep people coming back, do a great story.
Okay.
The best roller coasters I've ridden are less than 100 feet tall.
Okay.
I mean, even the Beast is not 100 feet tall. It's 90 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, it has a 100-foot drop, though. So, it's a 130-foot drop, I think.
And it's a great ride.
It is, of course.
But Haggard's,
it's not tall at all.
It's not tall at all. Velocicoaster, I don't think if it's over 100, it's not over by much.
It's over 100, but yeah, it's not. Okay. Once again.
So to me, the best roller coasters that I've ridden are not. Yeah, do I ride Orion? Yeah, it's. I think it's just an updated experience to Diamondback.
Okay.
I've ridden a handful of others, but they're all. It's the same layout.
Okay.
Tall hill and a couple smaller ones.
Right. But I do contest it with Orion. You have the wave turn. You have a cool turnaround. You have a helix that actually presses you into your seat quite successfully. I just think it's the Diamondbacks and like the Nitro, that era of B&M hyper, just they don't need to exist. We can remove them. We can use their track to make better rides.
Well, no, I think this is a B&M coaster also, and I can't remember the name of it offhand at Holiday World. The wing coaster.
Thunderbird, yeah.
It goes shooting out of it's over 100 feet tall.
It's probably about there.
Yeah, somewhere, give or take.
Yeah.
It goes shooting out, and there's no lift hill, but it goes shooting out of the station.
Okay.
Much better experience to me at 100 feet plus or minus than a 300 feet tall coaster.
Okay, so I would argue that you're actually proving my point here. Because these rides you're talking about are all B&M hypers. What do you think about Millennium Force? Do you think that is okay? Well, no longer.
It's
you think it's better than
groundbreaking first time?
Yeah,
but now they're 300 feet tall, and that's hardly makes the news now.
Okay, so if you were gonna ride, if you had Millennium Force Diamondback and Orion right over here, which one would you prefer to ride?
Diamondback, Orion, or Millennium Force? Probably Orion, because it's an updated experience.
All right. Well, touche. Maybe I am alone in my B&M hyper distaste, but that was my rant.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I've got a couple myself I can get into, and not necessarily rant. And I get this because there's people that are going to be listening to this podcast that are going to be management level, maybe not C level or anything like that, but definitely lower management. Some people who are aspiring, and some people who are fans of the park.
Yeah.
Now, a number of years ago, in my family and I, we still do this now. If someone goes to great, like for good guest experience at a park that we go to,
Right.
I always want to make sure that we pass that information on to whomever their the guest relations or their supervisor, if we know who the supervisor is. And I am more passionate about this now because I came across someone who works at a Great Wolf Lodge location. This is not a knock on Great Wolf Lodge at all. It's not even going that. That's just where they work.
Yeah.
And there was a guest family, I don't know, family of 4, family of 5, something like that.
Yeah.
Mother, father, small kids, who just for whatever reason things were not going well for them.
Yeah.
It had nothing really to do with the hotel or the resort or the water park.
Yeah.
It's just they were late getting out of their house, they were late arriving, and just things that happened when it's a sold out weekend. It just wasn't a good. And then when you have sold out time, you can't find the seats together, and you have to. So they just things were not going well.
Right.
And the person I talked to, they, in my estimation, I'm thinking, so next time we go there, this, but no, they really, in my estimation, from what they said, turned what could have been let's get security involved because this guy's going off the rails.
Right.
Really diffused the situation and made it into a memorable experience because, by the way, it was also one of their kids, the daughter or son, birthday.
Oh, okay.
So they got him like a pass for like a paw pass.
Yeah.
They were able to get him a locker to put their stuff in, and for the next day help them get a reservation because literally people line up to go into the water park to reserve places they have no intentions of sitting at all day.
Yeah.
So it was able to get them into a place and really diffuse the situation.
Okay.
And the family's real appreciative and said, "Oh, we'll make sure we'll write a review or a recommendation or whatever to your supervisors." Yeah, that's been a couple weeks ago.
Nothing.
They never did.
Yeah.
And that's where I say if you happen to come across someone who does great guest service, goes out of their way, goes over and above, or even cares about their job, you can tell them because there's a lot of people that work in places that they're in mid-season form on day one.
Yeah.
And but literally, especially for these hourly employees, they live off of these things.
Yeah. We
did a family vacation to one of the parks here in Orlando and stayed at a resort, and there was one of the people that worked there went over and above when my daughter's trying to figure out what she wanted to do college-wise and career-wise.
Yeah.
And this individual, this lady, this girl, whatever you want to call her, pretty much, if I could detail what her steps would be, it was like lockstep. Okay, like what she's doing, follow what she did. Don't reinvent the wheel. Someone's already done it. Just follow.
Do that. Yeah.
And she spent a number of a long time with her.
Yeah.
And really went on her way. And her name was Tori. I don't think that doesn't make any difference to the story, but we made sure that we wrote a glowing review to her, and I knew the people who work in the administration of the resort, so I was able to run at the flagpole to the right person, and I'll be seeing that person tomorrow. But and a couple months later came back and said, because I didn't hand deliver it to him, I did it what a normal guest would. I went to the front desk and said, "Hey, we had good guest service. I'd like to submit this," and just let it go where it goes. And I guess when we had talked to this girl Tori a couple months later, whatever it was, asked her if anything ever came back on that.
Yeah.
And she said no. They pulled me in front of everybody, all my peers, and she thought she didn't know what's going to happen. She was getting wrote up for something, and she got she got recognized in front of her peers, and it was a great thing. And for what it's worth, and you're a cast member now, and you're kind of in a situation where you're guest facing, and you tell people, pointing with 2 fingers, by the way, not one. I can't even
do it like it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do 1 finger. I can't. It always does 2.
So if you could get great guest service to somebody, their day is going off the rails. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom, however many thousands of people go there a day.
Right.
I can only imagine that there's a couple people that we paid this much and we can only do this.
Right.
That's probably a common theme. But if you were able to do something that takes that arc and changes course on it,
Yeah.
and you're actually recognized by it, and the people follow through with what they say they're going to,
Yeah.
you live off of that.
Oh, 100%.
And I would say my rant on this isn't necessarily towards the parks, towards the resorts, towards any kind of seasonal park or any kind of administration. It's on the guest. If someone gives you great guest service, because there's a lot of bad guest service out there, and there literally is, and people always let the parks know when something goes off the rails.
Always let you know if it's bad.
But it's always the good stuff that never makes up the chain.
Sometimes it is, yes.
I would say most times it is. if you get a splinter because of some wood in the railing or line,
yeah,
you're going to let someone know about that.
For sure.
But you may not let them know about how they nursed your wound or whatever you call it.
Right.
So that is my rant on this,
okay.
Because I know that a lot of guests do that. They say they're going to. They get good guest service. They tell the person, literally to their face, probably, "Oh, we're gonna make mention of this to whomever,
yeah,
and we'll make sure this gets to the general manager, the manager, the vice president, whoever."
Yeah,
and they don't do it.
Yeah, that happens. And I will say, as someone who has received guest compliments in my life, it is awesome. Like it really is. Mm-hmm. To have this very tangible thing to say, you know what, I made someone's day better today.
Right.
I was tired. You
made magic.
Yeah, that's right. I made magic. Or, at Kings Island, I made cedar. I don't know. But there are lots of times that this does happen. And I would like to defend these guests. For an example, I was working in Vertigo one day, and we were closed for rain. Mm-hmm. And so I was out front of the ride telling people, hey, we're closed because it's raining. We can't operate in this weather, so forth. And this gentleman walks up to me and he asks me about, he told me he lost his phone on the ride, and we told him we wouldn't be able to get it till tonight when we close down and lock the ride out, which is totally normal. But he was saying, since it's raining, is there any way you guys could get it now? And I told him, well, look, the ride, we have to lock it out, turn it off, and then we'd have to redo startup opening procedures if we were going to do that right now. So probably not. But where is your phone? Let me see if I can reach it with a picker.
Right.
And I saw it. I couldn't really reach it with a picker, but at Congo Falls, we have a really long picker. So I grabbed a picker and I tried to get it and I couldn't. And then I told him, you know what? I know I could get this. I don't know if, you want to go do other things, but it's raining, so not a lot's open. I can go get it for you. I'm sure I can. So I go grab the picker. I get his phone. I give it to him. And he was very grateful, but he just wanted to give me cash. That way, he was like, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Here's $20. And I'm like, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're very kind, but no. And I told him, I'm never going to say go give me a guest compliment.
Right.
I think that really defeats the purpose. But I was thinking in my head, instead of giving me cash, why didn't you just give me a guest compliment? I just think there are a lot of people who genuinely don't know that is an option. They don't know that they can go to guest services.
I think you can blame a teenager for that, not an adult.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I think, as to your point, it's not part of the culture to go out and say, hey, I had this great experience with this cast member or this, team member. Can you show them some love for that? And if it's not part of the culture, where would you,
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with Disney, it's in the My Disney Experience app to give cast compliments most of the time. You can certainly go to guest relations and tell them too, and that's better for most cast members. But if you, don't really know what you're doing with the My Disney Experience app, you've never been down there, I think there are certainly some examples of people who are genuinely very nice and very thankful for your, time or energy, but they just don't know what to do. Now, certainly, if they say they're going to do it, and then they don't do it, that's a fair rant.
Yeah,
that's you don't do that.
So that's my rant. If you're not going to do it, then don't say you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's a fair rant. I have another one here. Okay. I have another rant. And this one, we kind of almost swung into this a little earlier.
Okay.
When Walt Disney was opening Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. The one in California.
Right.
50s.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
He had a lot of dreams for this park. He was a dreamer. and he said about Disneyland that he was so excited for Disneyland in particular because he knew it would be a project he would never be done with. As long as there was imagination left in the world, he would still have ways to make Disneyland better. A movie, Walt Disney describes, is done. When you finish the movie, you finish animating, Fantasia, the movie is over. You can't work on Fantasia anymore. But with a theme park, you can work on that park forever. That is Walt Disney's big thing with parks. That's why he likes it so much. I think, and maybe it's easy for me to say when I'm not the one who has to plan everything out. I think parks have lost that a little bit.
Okay, explain.
I think if you look at let's say Disneyland.
Okay.
Right? There are new things in the park, but there are lots of things in Disneyland, but also in other parks that are good attractions. They're good. I'm not going to say they're not, but they're old, they're a little bit out of date, and their IPs are not really as relevant anymore, and they're here in the park still for one reason, and that is fan service.
Okay.
I'm not saying these rides aren't popular anymore. They are popular. That's certainly true. But, in theater and entertainment, they say you always want to keep the audience wanting more. You don't want to do the same thing until it gets worn out. I think a park should have moments where people are like, why did you remove this attraction? I loved this attraction. Well, we removed it to make a new attraction that we think you're going to love too. The Great Movie Ride at Hollywood Studios. Beloved attraction. And one of the reasons Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is my favorite attraction is the fact that it got rid of the Great Movie Ride. I've never ridden the Great Movie Ride. I'm sure it's fantastic. But I think there is so much, I just respect so much Disney World's decision in that case to remove a ride that they know is beloved because they have this new thing that they're excited about and they need to share with people. I think that's what a park should be. If you look at Universal in recent times.
So before you get too far removed, the Great Movie Ride, if you go back to when it was Disney MGM Studios and even Disney Hollywood Studios, the name Studios is in there.
It is.
And the park has become less of a studio driven.
Yeah.
And not that it was ever studio driven,
but it was more about movie making than it is.
Right. And that's where the Great Movie Ride kind of filled that. And we rode many Mickey's Railway.
Yes.
That was okay.
Of course.
We rode that last time we were down here. I think the last 2 times we were down here. Great ride.
Yeah.
But it's not a studio type ride for I think how that park was originally themed.
Okay. I mean, it's themed to movies. You're going to see.
The movie ride was about all movies.
Yeah. It was more about production side of things, and that's legitimate. That's fair. I respect that criticism of removing the Great Movie Ride. That's way more fair than just they shouldn't have got rid of it. I liked it because I think what a park is a place that changes. I think that's how it ought to and has to be. And I'm not saying that across the board. I think keeping some fan service in your park, I don't think they should ever get rid of Tower of Terror. Even though people don't watch The Twilight Zone that much anymore. That should stay.
It's sort of the same move or line cue as it did back in the 90s.
So right.
It started.
Yeah, and that's great. I think that's awesome. But I do think that when you look at and I'm a cast member, I'm not in any way speaking on behalf of the company. I'm in some ways saying something a little bit bad here, but I think if you look at Magic Kingdom in particular, and you look at the fact that Tomorrowland Speedway is there, and it's next to the Teacups ride, and it's next to, I love Mickey's PhilharMagic. That's one of my favorite rides in the world, but really? You still need Mickey's PhilharMagic there? Really? It's next to Peter Pan. I'm okay.
You probably have a right if they took that out.
Right. Keep one of these. Make it good fan service. That's fine. But change your parks. It is not only...
No, wait. Are you suggesting take out the motorway?
Tomorrowland Speedway?
Yeah.
100% I'm suggesting.
Really?
100. It is easily, I think, by aesthetic, by feel, the most out-of-date thing at Walt Disney World. As a whole.
I disagree with that. Our daughters, when they were young, that was their first experience driving.
Okay.
Their first experience, they got a little license.
Right.
Their first experience driving, at Magic Kingdom Disney World.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
That's great. It's an awesome ride. I'm glad it existed. I just think it's done.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Time is right. If
you're wrong.
If you want to make an experience driving, great. Make a new antique cars ride, theme it to something relevant. I mean, not only is this like we've lost sight of what Walt's dream was, which who cares? Maybe Walt was wrong. I think it like imagine the opportunity for people to come back to these parks because they know how much they're changing. I think Universal is a great example of doing this right. Right now, everything changes constantly in Universal. Mm-hmm. You can't go twice and it be this. Every time you go into Universal, there's a construction wall up somewhere.
Yeah.
There is. I mean, I don't know what the deal is. They built this Wicked area, this Wicked museum and store. And it opened with the movie. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That's changing your parks to be relevant and to be here right now. That probably won't be there in 5 years because it shouldn't be there in 5 years. Wicked will be kind of yesterday's news in 5 years.
I think that's an interesting take.
I think not only does it create a park that's actually a better experience, it gives you so much more variety in the IPs you can do and the rides you can do that you just have to attract more guests because there has to be some people who are only interested in being at the park for those new things.
Mm-hmm. Now, at the Hollywood Studios, they're replacing the Muppets vision, which, by the way, I would love it if they came out with some sort of VR version of that you can throw the glasses on.
And you can still experience it? That'd be cool.
But they're going to replace that with Monsters Universe.
Yeah.
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc., yeah.
Whatever it is. Because it's both. I don't know what the land's going to be called. But the ride experience that they have going there, I've seen artist renditions of it, I've seen videos of it. It looks incredible. And that's not something I think is going to be there 5 years gone. That's something that's going to, I think,
be there for a long time. Yeah, I think 5 years is very aggressive. I think probably we're talking 20 or 30 is how, what the life of these rides should be. And once again, that's not to say that rides like the Beast shouldn't exist and you shouldn't keep a good classic around. But your park shouldn't just be classics. You have to have other things. And Disney, to their credit, has, with that Monsters ride, with Toy Story Land, with, Rise of the Resistance, they've turned the corner. They've started doing this Tron, even at Magic Kingdom.
Right.
But I think there was a time, maybe from 2010 to 2018 with Disney, where it was just like nothing but we're going to keep these parks how they are because people love them right now. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be.
Well, yeah, especially Guardians of the Galaxy when that came. That's top 3 for me.
That attraction is amazing.
It is.
It is so cool. Launch coaster, but also spinning coaster, whimsical, tells a great story. That's a perfect ride.
Yeah, I love the fact that I think this might be the first time that who's the guy that's starred in the movie?
Chris Pratt. Yeah.
He's on the line queue at a Disney park.
Yeah.
Concurrently in the line queue at a Universal park. Has that ever happened before?
I don't think so. I don't know of it if it has. I can't imagine.
That's crazy that they're two completely separate movie franchises that he is front and center and does the announcements for both of them. And, the Super Mario movie, he voices Mario in the 2 summers ago, the Illumination. Right. So I don't know if he's going to be in any of those epic cues, his voice as Mario. Will be.
Yeah, that's insane. We need to nerf him, take away some of his power. I will say, I don't think I've told you this, Tuesday of next week, I'm going to Epic Universe. So there's a pass holder preview right now. They give you like a few days you can select from to buy your tickets for, and I got my tickets. I'm going on Tuesday.
Okay, and I think I mentioned this before on a previous podcast that we have Cassie Tucker of Explorer Universal coming on the show, podcast. What would we call this? A show, podcast, whatever it is. Our little dog and pony operation. She is going to be on the podcast. We're recording May 6th. Yeah. Now, when we set this up, I didn't even have in my mind that the Epic Universe is going to be opening later in the month.
Yeah.
It's just tremendous how it turned out.
That is going to be great.
So we're looking forward to that. If you don't listen to anything else to say, tune back in the first week of May.
Yeah, I'm sure she will have been.
Oh, I'm sure she's been there
a few times. Yeah, right. So maybe we can ask her about Chris Pratt's voice in live for
if she's able to even say.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we have a pick 6 this week, but it's a little different. We have a little bit of a different pick 6. I want to talk about the fact that it's park opening season. And there's lots of attractions opening this year that I think have kind of gone under the radar. And I just want to remind our very enthusiastic roller coaster and theme park fans about these attractions. So first up,
put me down the middle of the pack because there's only one of the 6 I can really comment.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
So put me down at number 3.
Okay, perfect. First up, I'm going to talk about Quantum Accelerator. So Six Flags New England is getting a family Intamin launch coaster this year. I feel like this one, didn't get a lot of news, but it's going to be really great. And I think they have some good family rides there. They have Pandemonium, their spinning coaster, but they don't really have a launch coaster at all. And this is kind of one of those hybrid between family and kind of really thrilling ride where it's not anything crazy tall or intimidating for a young person, but it is fun because it's got a good launch and so forth. So that'll be a really exciting ride, and hopefully it'll be open with the park here in a couple weeks. Number 2, I don't know how to pronounce this ride. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm going to say Y-O-Y. Maybe it's Yoi. I think Yoi, maybe. This is 2 RMC Raptors. Two that are dueling. And one of them is, really crazy flips, all these kind of crazy, intense, aggressive elements. The other side of it, they're calling the chill side. Thrill and chill. And you're racing, so everyone can have the fun of racing, but you don't have just one really thrilling ride or just one family ride. You have a family ride and a thrilling ride. I think that's going to be awesome. And I'm also, I don't know when I'll ever get to experience this ride, but I would be curious to see what the family side of that ride is like. Because that'll be the first time we've ever really seen RMC build a family ride, ever. So I'm sure it'll still be pretty great.
Yeah.
Because they do a great job. But also, I feel like they might have trouble turning the brakes off, turning the brakes on, I suppose. So I don't know. What do you got for number 3 for us?
Number 3, this is about the only one I can really comment on, and to be honest, I haven't seen it yet. I've seen pictures. The former Italian Job stunt track.
Yes.
This is at Kings Island.
Yes.
In Cincinnati, Ohio. Italian Job stunt track. Then it was
Backlot stunt track. Yes.
And now they've rethemed it to being Cincinnati stunt track.
Yeah.
I think that had that name right.
Queen City,
there you
I
go,
think.
Queen
City. But either way.
Yeah, for people who don't know, and I'm sure Cincinnati's known as Queen City.
That's right.
So they've rethemed it to being a stunt track through the streets of Cincinnati. So there's the of course, the parking garage is still the same. There's nothing all you can do about that. But there's interstate traffic signs, scenes throughout the ride course. And so it's now. I wonder through that the one part of the track that goes down like you're going down a subway stairs.
Yeah.
Now Cincinnati has a subway.
We do.
Abandoned. It never opened.
Yeah.
It was built back in before the cars were out. Really readily available back in the 30s.
Yeah.
And it never opened.
Yeah.
It's like part of the ghost tours of Cincinnati.
Right.
So I wonder what they did with that.
I bet it's mostly still just black because that's what it would be like if you were really down there. It'd just be really dark. So I don't know, but I bet there's a cool facade.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure.
So it'd be interesting. It's a way to get to refresh the ride.
Yeah,
to get ridership back up on it because not that it was never a walk on.
Yeah,
but since it came, I remember when the ride first came out. I think it was 2004.
Yeah,
there were. It wouldn't be uncommon for an hour and a half, 2 hour wait line.
Wow.
And I kind of don't mind stop. I won't, if it's really good, I'll wait one time and then I'll wait and there's less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
But this, I think, is a way that they're going to get some increased interest in the ride.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little ride. It launches out of the station and it has some really cool elements to it.
Yeah, it does.
The end of it goes down a long tunnel.
Yeah.
And it used to have the splashdown.
You did.
Now, I don't know if they're bringing that back or not.
They're not.
They're not.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of my friends who works at Kings Island about this, and he was telling me, he was like, I love the Cincinnati stuff, but I think they should have just not changed the Cincinnati stuff and instead brought the splashdown back. Which, I think there's something to that. But
no, to be fair, it wasn't really a splashdown.
Yeah, true.
The coaster went through there, and there was
just water.
Jets that sprayed off the side.
Yeah. I think what would have been really cool, and maybe next year, though, I'm just like trying on it. The bridge, you have to walk over a bridge to board the ride.
Okay, yeah.
It's just that little one. I think if that could have been the Roebling suspension bridge,
Oh,
that could have been
that's
pretty awesome.
that would interesting.
But I don't know. Then that means you're in the Ohio River, which you don't want that.
No, you don't.
Yes. Next up, though, we have Snoopy's Racing Railway. Now, this is a Carowinds new family coaster. It's really hard for us to be able to know much about this ride right now because construction is not that far along. So this one will not be opening with the park because the park is open. So we'll see. Hopefully, we can still get a ride on it this year. Hopefully, it'll still be open this year. But there's really no telling at this point.
Yeah.
Almost kind of a mine train feel with it, but it's launched, which is pretty rare. I don't think there's a launched mine train out there. Let us know. I can't think of any. Anyway, Fire Runner, Lost Island, the somewhat struggling but very, very cool and very up and up Iowa resort, is adding in an RMC Raptor as well.
Okay.
Now this one it's a clone of Stunt Pilot, the one at Silverwood, but these are great rides. They're not great on capacity, but they are great rides. So hopefully it'll get some people out there. I really want that park to do well.
You're talking the one in Iowa?
Lost Island, yeah. Well, Lost Island.
Okay.
I want both of those parks to do well, but Lost Island, they're so new and they took such a big risk to build that park that I just really hope they can do well. And then finally, I think there's one more on here. Yes, Circuit Breaker and Palindrome. So Coda Land, which is in Austin, Texas. It is a very new park. It's kind of around this Circuit of the Americas, I think it's called, the raceway there. Mm-hmm. And it has 3 new coasters opening this year. One of them, very unknown. We don't know much about it. Circuit Breaker, though, is a tilt coaster.
Okay.
So it'll be a race to see Siren's Curse or Circuit Breaker, which one can open first and be the first tilt coaster in North America.
Siren's Curse is going to open with the park, though, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And Circuit Breaker's, I think, pretty far along. I'm not really sure where it's at in construction. That was the trouble. Then on the other side of things, Palindrome. They're adding a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster, which will be the 3rd Infinity coaster in the U.S. We have a few Eurofighters, but there's only Monster at Adventureland, Hang Time, and then this new Palindrome as far as Infinity coaster. And those are great rides. So very exciting. Hopefully, I can get out at least to some of those. And hopefully you guys and you, my friend, can as well. So there was our modified
Pick 6.
Yeah, that's right. Figure I'll announce this here too. Next week, or maybe this week, depending on when this gets uploaded, I'm going to LA. I'm going to spend 2 days at Disneyland and 1 day at Knott's Berry Farm. So, stay tuned. I'll try to make sure I get something posted from those parks to, enjoy for the 2025 summer.
Yes, and you posted something last week. We might be doing a little more of these just to get some just different content rather than just interviews and us going off off the rails on a topic.
Yeah.
But no, you got into a little bit of trouble. For someone who hasn't seen that, what did you do?
So I just said, I don't think Stardust Racers is going to be better than Velocicoaster because at the end of the day, it's made by Mach, who is an unbelievably good manufacturer. The most consistent manufacturer in the world. They make some of the smoothest rides, literally some of the smoothest rides in the world. Really comfortable. They're just amazing rides, but they're not going to make they're not intimate. Intimate is like on this whole other universe of being aggressive and doing things that no one thinks is a good idea, making objectively bad business decisions and then them working out miraculously. That's intimate. And I just think the best coaster in the world will be an intimate.
Which is interesting. 15 years ago, people would have said that.
Okay, well, 15 years ago, they would have said it's Millennium Force, probably, which isn't intimate.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Well, but they definitely, I think, over the last 10 to 15 years, got more innovative.
Yeah, for sure.
In their approach. And the technology came along with it also, but there's a lot of iconic. Now, back at that time, London Force, one roller coaster, was iconic.
Yeah.
There's a number of coasters out there iconic that you could point to and say, there'd be a full-on riot if they removed it.
And there would be, and 3 of them at least are at Cedar Point. So yes, that's good. That's good. Well, little bonus episode here. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all those good things. And we'll see you here next week.
Somewhere, sometime, if you're not traveling. But for now, we are here at the Iaapa headquarters.
That's right.
Won't always be able to say that.
No, definitely. No. All right, good to go.